There's something truly magical about Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy's Conquest. It's not just the tight gameplay or the visuals, it's the feeling of it all. From the moment the title screen fades in, you know that you're in for something different, something deeper than your typical platformer. This is not a game about hopping around happy jungles or collecting shiny objects just for the sake of it. No, this is a true adventure. One where you're stepping into dangerous, unfamiliar territory, and every level feels like a test of your courage and your wits. What makes the atmosphere of this game so unforgettable is the way that it balances excitement and unease. It feels like you've wandered into a world that doesn't necessarily belong to you. A world that's wild, unpredictable, mysterious, and maybe even a little haunted. And yet, it pulls you in. The promise of discovery, of uncovering secrets and overcoming challenges is just too strong to ignore. Right from the start, DKC2 sets the stage for something darker and more dangerous than the first game, while also weirdly being more lighthearted and more playful. You're not on Donkey Kong Island anymore. You're in Crocodile Isle, deep in the heart of Kremling territory. The opening level, Gangplank Galleon, immediately gives off an eerie vibe. The pirate ship that you're on, it creaks under your feet, the mist hangs heavy in the air, and you can almost feel the eyes of the Kremlings watching you from the shadows. It's thrilling, but it's also extremely unsettling, like you've wandered into a place you're not supposed to be. And that is the tone of essentially the whole game. Crocodile Isle doesn't feel like a world built for you. It feels like a place with its own history and its own rules. The Kremlings dominate every corner. From the murky swamps to the crumbling temples, this is not your home. It's theirs. The world feels alive in DKC2, but also very hostile. The environments are some of the most memorable in all of gaming. They're not just backdrops, they feel like living, breathing places with endless stories to tell. Take the swamp levels for just an example. The water, the insects, the trees, all of it combines to create a space that feels ancient and dangerous with so much history. Or the bramble levels with their sharp, tangled vines and hauntingly serene music, we'll get to that momentarily. They're beautiful, but they're also so intimidating, like they're daring you to step out of line and just see what happens. Every single level feels distinct, but they all share that same sense of adventure. The world of Donkey Kong Country 2 feels very layered, like there's always something just out of reach. Maybe a secret path, maybe a hidden treasure, or maybe a story you'll never quite fully understand. David Wise's soundtrack is everything. Not only does it complement the game, it literally defines it. Each track is so perfectly matched to its environment that it's hard to imagine the levels without them. In fact, I would say it's impossible to imagine the levels without them. Stickerbush Symphony is the standout, of course. It's calming and beautiful, but there's a sadness to it too, like you're wandering through a place that's been forgotten by time and you want to reach back to those maybe nostalgic memories, but you just can't. And then there's Mining Melancholy with its relentless rhythm that feels like a heartbeat in the dark, echoing depths throughout the mines, and Forest Interlude, which is just as impactful as Stickerbush Symphony to me. It's peaceful, almost meditative, but it carries an undertone of danger, reminding you that throughout this adventure, you're never truly safe. And the music doesn't just set the tone, but it pulls you deeper into the adventure and immerses you in a way that hardly any other games do for me. It makes you feel the weight of every jump, every climb, and every close call you may have. One of the coolest things about this game is the way that you move through Crocodile Isle. You start at the bottom, where the first game ends, on Gangplank Galleon and in the swamps and shipwrecks, and you work your way up through increasingly dangerous terrain. By the time you're climbing the rigging of a massive galleon or navigating the fiery depths of a literal volcano, it feels like you have earned this. You have earned the right to be here, and you have earned your progress. And then there's that final push. The ascent to the Flying Croc. It's not just another level, it's the culmination of everything that you have been through up to this point. The stakes feel sky high, quite literally, and the game makes sure that you know it. And there's something really charming about Diddy and Dixie Kong as the main characters this time around. I've talked about before how it's kind of bothered me a little bit that Donkey Kong is only the main character in one of the 3 original trilogy games when it's called Donkey Kong Country, but I've made that point known, it is what it is. Diddy and Dixie are not big, strong heroes like Donkey Kong. They're much smaller, they're scrappier, and they feel like underdogs, and they are, quite literally, children. Diddy, stepping out of Donkey Kong's shadow, has this determination that's pretty much impossible not to root for. And Dixie, with her helicopter hair and her attitude and the way that she carries herself, feels like the perfect partner for this kind of adventure. It's just fun, and together they're not just fighting for Donkey Kong trying to save him, they're trying to prove themselves and prove that they can handle whatever the Kremlings throw at them, and they do. What makes this game so addictive is the balance between danger and discovery. Every level in DKC2 feels like a risk, but the rewards make it all worth it. The bonus barrels and hidden rooms feel like little treasures waiting to be found. They're not handed to you, you have to earn them. And when you do, it feels incredible, like you've uncovered something that no one else has seen. Even the animal buddies added a sense of adventure. They were underutilized, in my opinion, in the first game, but here they really do stand out. Rambi smashing through the enemies, Squitter weaving webs, and reaching those areas that were just out of reach. They're not just helpful, but they make you feel sort of unstoppable in a way, even though it's only for a moment. What sets Donkey Kong Country 2 apart from other platformers is how it mixes excitement with a subtle sadness. The world is beautiful, yes, but it's also decaying. The bramble levels are stunning, sure, but they feel lonely in a sense, kind of like the first game. Even the Kremlings' pirate antics carry a sense of desperation, like they're clinging to something that they've already lost. It's not a depressing game by any means, and I think it's much more lighthearted than the first game is, but there is an emotional depth to it that makes the adventure feel more meaningful. You're not just running and jumping, you're exploring a world that feels alive and complicated. You're not trying to get your banana horde back, you're trying to get your friend back. When you think back on Donkey Kong Country 2, it's not just the gameplay or the graphics that will likely stick with you. It's that feeling. The thrill of stepping into a dangerous, unfamiliar world. The quiet beauty of the brambles, the pulse of the music driving you forward. It's the kind of game that leaves an impression long after you've put the controller down, much like the first game did. It makes you feel like you've been on a real, true adventure. One that's just as exciting as it is mysterious, and as beautiful as it is dangerous. And that is what makes Diddy's Conquest more than just a sequel. It is a game that feels alive, challenging, and truly unforgettable.